talking about everything chargeback related. Okay. So, in my experience, most merchants are unsure of what to do when chargebacks become a problem. And obviously, no matter the size of your business or the industry that you're in, disputes and chargebacks are very prevalent and extremely harmful, especially in today's world. I mean, there's $7 billion in fraudulent cases every single year. And it's really something that business owners need to be a little bit more attentive to, especially around the fact of protecting themselves from true and friendly fraud. So, the first thing that I just want to make clear before we dive into the training is number one, by Visa and MasterCard mandates, you as a business owner are not allowed to tell your client that they do not have the right to file a chargeback. Okay, so that goes directly against those card brand policies. You could say, no refund, all this type of stuff. Your contracts can say whatever type of language they say. At the end of the day, the client is going to do whatever they want, and Visa will allow it, regardless of the language in the contract. Number two, merchant processor are able to stop chargebacks altogether, and that is not true. Okay. So if somebody says, hey, work with me because you'll never get a chargeback, it's just straight up lies. That's not how this works. Nobody can control it. Again, it's on the client's end and the card brand's end, and they're going to dictate everything. Number three, and lastly, is to remember that no matter who the processor is that you're using, once a chargeback gets filed, those monies are going to get pulled from the business bank account immediately. There is no stopping this. So I've been on multiple calls where people want to work with us because Stripe takes the money right away. Well, everybody in the entire industry is going to take the money away right away. So just because you move to somebody new or a new processor doesn't mean that that part changes. You're always going to get that money removed immediately. Now, I've spent 9 years consulting business owners and analyzing many business models, various offer stacks, and the best practices to implement when it comes to properly fighting these chargebacks. So before we really dive into the actual step-by-step process, the thing to consider is to try to put yourself in the shoes of the individuals who are in this chargeback department. Okay. So just like you own and operate a business, people in the chargeback department, they have a job to do as well. And most of that job is simply checking boxes, right? Like, okay, is the item here? Yes, no, cool, next. That's all that they're going to do. They just want to get the job done, simply check boxes and move on. So instead of it being this robotic process, we want to make sure that there's some human element being involved here instead. Okay. So here's the one thing that you're not going to do. You're not going to send in your document saying, Dan joined the course and here's the contract to prove it. Okay. Because they're going to get that and they're going to be like, well, who's Dan? And what course are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? I don't even know what type of business you are. Again, just because you are having an active merchant account, that doesn't mean that all departments of the company know you, know your model, know your offer. So we really want to make sure we're getting detail oriented here to paint a clear picture and bring that human element into play. So remember, you're working with a total stranger. They don't know you. They don't know your business. They don't know the deliverables. Okay. Now, as a part of the offerings that I provide, it's not just getting people merchant accounts, but for those that actually are looking for it, I do act as a consultant on behalf of that individual. So the reason why this is beneficial is because it's actually going to demonstrate to the bank that you value the working relationship of the merchant account. Then on top of that, it's actually going to free up your time to focus on your core business while we're able to take these action points away and put some things together for you on your behalf. So this framework, I want you to take away as much as you can from it without having to go hire an outsourced CPO. All right. So take notes, make sure you're taking away as much as you can from this. And let's just dive in here. So the chargeback file, the chargeback letter, whatever you want to call it, it's going to consist of a few parts, 5 parts. It could be more parts. You'll see. First is going to be a cover letter. And then number 2 through 4, number 2 through 6, whatever. It's going to be the specific item that you are sending in as evidence. So it could be 1 or it could be multiple, 5. Like, it's really just about how much detail you guys keep and how ingrained everything is for you. So step number 1, we actually want to begin with the documents. We want to begin with gathering all of the documents that are going to support the legitimacy of the transaction and support that you're actually working with this client. So this is where, again, the steps 2 through whatever, this is where we want to just make sure we're getting everything included. Receipts, signed contracts, credit card authorization form, logins to private course material, any communication back and forth, whether it was a recorded Zoom, whether it was text messages or WhatsApp messages or emails. You want to just make sure you have all of these here in order to fight as best as we can. Once all of that's collected, we're going to move on to step 2, which is the first item in the letter, and that's going to be putting together your cover letter. So this is where we're actually going to be putting together the basic details about your business. So I want you to start talking about the products or services that you sell. I want you to talk about your marketing tactics, and I want you to talk about your billing methods. All right. Now, after you've put all of that together, you've painted that picture of your background. You've explained all of the things that you do from a background standpoint. Now I want you to start explaining each individual supporting document that you've gathered in the step before. So as an example, signed contract. In this document, you're going to find the signed contract by Dan, which outlines the nature of the business, the description of our service, and the time frame of its delivery. You can keep it like that, or you can just describe the nature of the business, describe the service and the time frame instead of keeping it vague like that. Really, it's going to be up to you in terms of what you like to do, but each item on that cover letter should have an explanation as to why you have included it here. And this is just a pro tip that is going to give results in you winning this dispute. I want you to, throughout your explanation of each supporting document, I want you to be sure to use the language such as trade secret or private information. Let them know that this was a paid for service, that they got trade secrets or they got private information that cannot be found anywhere on the internet because it is secret to you. It's something that you came up with. It's a form that these people are paying you for because you're the only one with the information. So make that clear in all of these supporting documents, especially if there's login information, course material information, a webinar, a community, that private access is being given with information that they're looking for. All right. And then the last thing is just some additional tools. So we want to clearly list out every new practice or technology that you plan to roll out with. Okay. So for example, hey, this is what's going on. We have this customer. I do want to let you know we do have some additional tools in the works here where we're actually staffing up more on our customer service department in order to handle questions and concerns. Or we actually have a new policy or procedure in order to make changes and returns and refunds a lot smoother for the individual. Or we just added an RDR, an anti-fraud tactic to our service, just to make sure that these things are getting halted in their tracks. And you can include all of that as well at the end, just to make sure that the chargeback department knows this is something that you're working on, you're constantly revising, and you don't want to happen just as much as they don't want to happen. We don't want to always have chargebacks coming in. So if you're being proactive with methods of how to reduce that risk, it's something that they're going to like to see. So that's pretty much just the overall framework of everything. If you're looking to get more in-depth advice, more in-depth feedback, feel free to comment on the video. Feel free to go into the note section, click on the link, get in my DMs, get a call with me, whichever's easiest for you. We can definitely walk you through that. But I'm also just going to leave this link here for you as well. So that way you have this framework for yourself. You can download, make it yours, but you can carry it with you for ongoing events in the future if and when these disputes do arise. So I want everybody to be able to have this as a framework. But if you really want more in-depth stuff, that's where, shooting a DM or getting a call in with me just to be able to brainstorm proactively, I think that could definitely help.